Hello friends, Happy New Year! This seems like a guessing game, but I give enough clues for everyone to draw their own conclusions, although I cannot speak more clearly for obvious reasons. A good understanding, few words are enough, but in this case I have come up with a lot, because there is a lot of information. Opinion article. What will the Three Kings bring? Nobody knows, but everyone speculates. All possibilities are open. There are strategies to change the game. The last cartridge is called Contingent election. Contingent means something that may or may not happen. The legal strategy has been to lose in court. A strange new year with fireworks and empty streets. The Chinese New Year of the Ox will begin on February 12th. Let's start. We don't know exactly what will happen in Congress and the US Senate on January 6th, the day of the epiphany of the three magician kings of the East. But all possibilities are open, and it could be a big thing. Republicans insist the Senate President has unilateral authority to dismiss the challenged list for any objection. Congressman Luis Gomez's recent electoral lawsuit could be a game-changing strategy. Many senators and congressmen are going to contest the election of the 6th. If we find that the debate lasts beyond January 6th, we will enter overtime. It already happened in 1876, and the Constitution provides for it. During 1876 elections, the debate in Congress lasted until February, and it was not resolved until a few hours before the inauguration. An epiphany like that of the three magicians kings of the East is a manifestation, apparition or revelation, such as a moment of enlightenment that Zen meditation calls Satori, or Hindu Samadhi, a state of consciousness that is reached during meditation, when the person feels that he is merging with the universe. I felt something similar in a Zen retreat. The church never liked that the three kings were magic, because the Inquisition persecuted the magicians, or that the state guided them because they also persecuted the astrologers. For many cultures, epiphanies correspond to revelations or appearances where prophets, shamans, witch doctors, or oracles interpreted visions beyond this world. It's a state of consciousness of meditation, contemplation, or recollection, in which it is felt to achieve unity with the divine. I'm sorry, but I always get mystical streak, even in politics. Choice of contingency, or election of contingency, or contingency election, better said. Trump's latest round is called a contingency election. A contingent election is a procedure used to elect the president or vice president of the country in the event that no candidate for one or both offices obtain an absolute majority of votes in the electoral college. Contingent presidential elections are decided by vote in the House of Representatives, while contingent vice presidential elections are decided by vote in the Senate. During a contingency election, each state's House of Representatives delegation cast a block vote to determine the president, rather than one vote for each representative. Senators, on the other hand, vote individually for the vice-president. This process has only taken 3 times in American history: in 1801, in 1825, and 1837. In 1800, Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr the presidential and vice-presidential candidates in the Democratic Republican Party formula received the same number of electoral votes, and that the procedures in force at the time, this required a contingent election to follow in the following year to decide who would be president and who would be vice-president. The president is elected by an assembly made up of 538 voters. This figure is equal to the sum of 100 senators, 425 congressmen, and 3 delegates from Washington, D.C., which has no senators but delegates. Each state contributes a block of these delegates, whose number is equal to the sum of its representatives, plus its senators or delegates. Since there are 538 delegates in total, a candidate needs at least 270 to be elected. The House votes by proxy. One state equal 1 vote. While it is clear that Pelosi is going to try to force a vote in the House per member, which the Democrats would win, the Constitution is unclear exactly how that vote is reduced. But the 12th Amendment contains contingent election language that says voting must be by proxy, which is what Republican Mo Brooks plans to push. Definition. The word contingent means that it may or may not happen in a circumstantial, accidental, random, possible, or necessary way, which leaves the door open to mystery and uncertainty. The contingent being is that which is not by itself but by another. So it can be and not be, because it need not to be. In logic, contingency is the way of being of characteristic of something in that it may or may be not, depending on the case. Aristotle opposed contingency to necessity, a notion that was picked up in the Middle Ages by Thomas Aquinas, from whom the contingent being, the world and the human being, opposes the necessary being, God. The contingent being is one that is not by itself, but by another. Thus, it can be and not be. It need not be. This is not the case of God, whose existence for Thomas Aquinas is necessary, since all contingent beings are caused. But we get lost if we follow this metaphysical reasoning. By the way, Thomas Aquinas was disciple of the great alchemist magician Albertus Magnus. According to legend, it is said that Alberto discovered the philosopher's stone and passed it on his student Thomas Aquinas. Albert does not confirm that he discovered the stone in his writings, but he did record that he has witnessed to what will the kings there is a mistake here, to the creation of gold by transmutation. That is the key. But the church concealed these facts, while the Inquisition persecuted the alchemists. Also the same hypocrisy. Lawsuit against Mike Pence. The lawsuit against Mike Pence could be a big game changer for counting the January 6th votes. A federal judge's decision in the lawsuit brought against Vice President Mike Pence by a fellow Republican could substantially alter the way events unfold. When Congress meets in joint session on January 6th to count Electoral College votes, according to constitutional expert Rick Green. The Washington Post says questioning the election results is the same as denying the Holocaust. Authors Deborah E. Lipstadt and Norman Einsen wrote an article arguing that those who question the outcome are similar to those who question the Nazi genocide. The authors claim that those who challenge the outcome of the race are engaging in activity similar of that of neo-Nazis and white supremacists who pretend the Holocaust never happened. I don't think so. Short news. The New Year's message. The President gave an end of the New Year message to the nation. By his side, Attorney Lin Wood asked the Supreme Court to block Georgia's runoff elections. A new study reveals an excess of almost 300,000 more votes in the disputed states. Trump criticizes the Republican Party. The President attacked the Republican leadership of Congress on Tuesday, calling it weak and tired, alluding to the head of the Conservative majority in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, for not supporting him in the measures that he has been championing in recent days. The President returned to Washington earlier and doesn't go to his traditional gala in Mar-a-Lago. The President anticipated his return to Washington on Thursday and did not attend the traditional gala that he annually celebrates at his resident and private club in Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago, where attendees paid a large amount to share with the President on New Year's Eve, a party too expensive. The dollar closes its worst year since 2017. The dollar registered its largest annual loss since 2017, culminating on Thursday, a year in which the currency served as a safe haven when the panic over the health crisis reached its peak in March, before fall due to unprecedented stimulus from the Federal Reserve. Policy update. Advisor Jason Miller reveals that the President plans to present specific evidence to Congress on January 6 and explains that this evidence has never been presented to any court and is not publicly known. Senator Josh Hawley announces that he will oppose fraudulent swing state voters. Two other senators, Tuberville and Duncan, join, making it 3. We know now that nearly 100 Republican lawmakers are expected to object. The lawyer Gina Ellis establishes the legal framework that would allow the President to justify the insurrection law or the military authority, explaining that the courts would have demonstrated negligence in the performance of duty and fidelity to the Constitution by refusing to accept legal cases, and that the President has been systematically denied due process protections under the Constitution. It's now clear that the President's legal strategy has always been to lose in court, in order to gather the necessary justification to declare that the entire judicial system has failed, which would provide an opportunity to start military tribunals. On top of all that, the President quietly extended Executive Order 13,118 for a year. Why? I repeat number 13818. Why did you extend the executive order for a full year if you planned to leave the White House on January 20th? Clearly, he does not plan to leave. A surprise witness. Lin Wood says Epstein would still be alive. I had always suspected so. On Thursday, Attorney Lin Wood drew drew attention with a bold tweet proclaiming that he is still alive. The shocking comment came amid a spate of tweets directed by Chief Justice John Roberts, against whom Wood has been building a case since he refused to examine allegations of voter fraud in Texas. If he were alive, it would mean that the president would have protected him as a witness from being assassinated, and it also means that he would have the cooperation to testify against pedophiles. What if on January 6 the president addresses Congress and reveals that the defendant who was miraculously resurrected is going to testify against senators and deputies? That could be a game changer. In theory, we could see the resignation of more than 100 members of Congress if that information were revealed. Reflections. Former Senate candidate calls for military tribunal to investigate foreign interference. A former South Carolina candidate, Bill Bledsoe, has asked the president to establish military tribunal to investigate foreign efforts to alter the outcome of the election. According to the X-22 report, this has been planned, and the Patriots are taking the swamp exactly where they want it to be. Durham is on deck. This is checkmate. It has to be done correctly. We only have one shot for this, and what is about to unfold can be devastating. He adds that they will not be able to walk on the street. The oaks of the swamp fell directly into the trap of the Patriots, who have been planning this for a long time. People are now seeing anomalies on a large scale. The narrative is falling apart. The Constitution is now protected, and the Patriots are waiting for the right moment to attack. Good will always win in the end. Swamp players won't be able to walk down the street when people find out what they did. A strange New Year. New Year's Eve with fireworks and empty streets. The world greets the year 2021 with fireworks, empty streets, and a few celebrations due to restrictions. Although many avenues choose not to cancel fireworks displays, they did ban public gatherings and parties. The world dressed in color to welcome 2021. Despite the peculiarities of these 12 months, the fireworks couldn't be missed to say goodbye to the year. Several nations welcomed 2021 with dazzling fireworks displays, albeit without the crowds. 2020, a year to be forgotten. The year 2020 was marked by the new health crisis, modifying human behaviors, paralyzing economies, and posing new challenges for the political system and social organization. The world said goodbye to 2020, a year marked by the health crisis, which has changed life in almost all parts of the planet. But despite restrictions and street closures in most cities for New Year's Eve, the world's capitals gave a spectacular welcome for the new year. It is known that Beijing will celebrate the Chinese New Year in a big way, which is also the final date of the two-year reset plan. This year, 2021, the Chinese New Year of the Ox will begin on February 12th and will run until January 31st of 2022. The Ox is patient but constant. However, the countdown to the Gregorian calendar New Year of December 31 has also become a major event in the city. The Asian capital welcomes 2021 with traditional celebrations and a series of performances. but this year without an audience. New Year's concert in Vienna with an empty hall and telematic applause. Music gives hope, and that is what the New Year's concert wants to convey with its optimistic music from the Strauss saga. After a fateful 2020, 2021 will start at the pace of a waltz and full of good promise. The United Kingdom definitively breaks its ties with the European Union, putting an end to almost half a century of participation in the European bloc. At 11 p.m., the clock marked the historic moment of the UK's disconnection from its community neighbours. More than 4 years after the British voted for Brexit on June 23, 2016. I'm glad it ended with reach an agreement. It is reached an agreement with the European Union and with Gibraltar in Spain. Happy New Year, friends, and thanks a lot for listening.